George is back. Back again. Folks, we're going to tell a friend. Join us right now. Giant freaking robot. Hosted by Yahoo Entertainment is reporting this. Star Wars show so awful it was hidden away is finally coming out. Let there be no doubt, though, this is George Lucas. This is not Disney. This is the first time we've seen this since George Lucas and Disney cut the deal. George Lucas is going to release something separate from Disney that is Star Wars, and he has the right to do so. It's a very strange situation. Let's talk about it. Chris Snellgrove is the author here, and it says, one surprising blind spot in Star Wars is that we never got anything on screen that was designed from the ground up as a comedy. Sure, every movie and show squeezes in some moments of humor, but they are designed first and foremost as dramas. Have you ever wondered why the galaxy far, far away never went all in on being funny? No, I have never wondered that, not a single time. As it turns out, Star Wars did develop an animated comedy show many years ago, Star Wars Detours. It was designed as a robot chicken-style take on our favorite characters, one that would deliver one non-canonical moment after another. The series was developed by Star Wars creator George Lucas and Robot Chicken creator Seth Green. They went all out, recruiting writers from fan-favorite series like Buffy, Battlestar Galactica, and Family Guy. But unfortunately, Star Wars Detours quietly died after Disney acquired the franchise. Despite having already produced 39 episodes, the show was canceled and has never seen the light of day outside one clip leaking to Reddit. However, Seth Green, Dr. Evil's son himself, revealed something startling at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, that a curated selection of Detours episodes would be made available to the public via the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art. That's right, it's not Disney, it's George Lucas who's going to be releasing these episodes for his museum. And folks, you're going to get for the first time in a long time something from George Lucas, not Disney. Going down, it says, in a word, Star Wars Detours began development in 2010, and Lucas and Green managed to produce 2 seasons worth of episodes. But then Disney acquired the Star Wars franchise in 2012. Initially, Green was optimistic that his new show would eventually come out after the sequel trilogy had been completed. In 2018, Disney filed a new trademark for Lucasfilm, but the show was never released and stopped getting official updates. In a 2019 interview with Collider, Green said he felt Disney wasn't interested in this kind of deconstructive comedy coexisting with the sincere interpretations of the characters. Wow, what a bunch of syllables, Mr. Green. A thesaurus are you? All right, so what's going to happen, folks? Well, you're going to get these, and the question is, so Yahoo and Bad Robot, they're positing that these are not funny at all. I don't think that's going to be true. It says, but will fans be excited to see it? That's the real question. While Star Wars Detours is a fascinating part of the franchise history, the leaked episode Dog Day Afternoon was almost painfully unfunny. It says maybe Disney made the right decision by burying this series. Okay, and by the way, they've got Weird Al apparently has original songs in it. So, hey, Weird Al fans, you may get some original Weird Al music in this. So anyway, here's the deal. I think the fact that they're curating it, they're picking episodes, Ron, means they're going to be picking the funniest episodes, and that's what's going to get released at the museum. I think if they're released at the museum, I'm not opining this should happen. I'm not desiring that this should happen. I'm not encouraging, but it won't be long. They'll make it their way onto the web if they're in a museum. So, Ron, it's kind of an odd thing, but we're getting Star Wars from George Lucas for the first time in forever, and maybe for the last time. Your thoughts on it?
Look, it's George Lucas Star Wars, which I would have never in a million years guessed that back in 2015, I should say this, back in 2015, I would have never guessed that the Disney sequels would make the prequels look like masterpieces. So, and I feel like that's something that kind of little hyperbole there, but that kind of happened. The prequels definitely look better in light of the sequels, and the prequels were all done by George Lucas. So it'll be very interesting to see this. I am a longtime Star Wars fan pre-Disney, and it's gonna be fun to take a look at these when I get a chance to, when they come out, because I'm kind of curious to know if maybe in the material did George Lucas kind of poke fun at his own self, at his own franchise, at his own writing. I would love to see that. Sometimes if it's done in the right light, self-deprecating humor is pretty funny. We'll see how it turns out. I'm very interested in actually seeing how this turns out because, of course, I'm a huge Spaceballs fan, and I'm really worried about how that's going to go under Josh Gad leadership. Although I will say, and this is a little bit off topic, but their franchise presentation was hilarious.
Yes, and I really appreciated the chanting of Rick, 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 because I love that Rick Moranis is getting the shout out that he deserves. Erika, the last time that we had anything from George Lucas working on Star Wars was 13 years ago. To the best of my knowledge, the last time George Lucas did anything with Star Wars was Clone Wars in 2013. So I think this is a pretty big deal. I mean, it's been more than a decade since we've seen anything. He's had no involvement, no cooperation with Disney. They have a severed relationship. Every once in a while, he'll show up like behind the scenes on a set just to say hi to Jon Favreau. But other than that, the most Disney does with George Lucas is pretend that Dave Filoni, is his second coming. And I think that's been blown out of the water. Erika, do you think people should be paying more attention to this story that, hey, George Lucas Star Wars is back, even if it's just a few episodes?
I think it's worth a shot, especially for the sake of the old school fans. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say on it because I'm not an avid Star Wars viewer, getting into the weeds of the storylines. But I think for the sake of the old school fans, it might be something I think they will check out. And I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
Well, not only that, Erika, but you're exactly right, the old school fans, because they're also getting the original version of Star Wars that has not been seen in decades and decades.
Right.
The original movie is coming back to theaters next year. And so
I heard about that.
A double dose of George Lucas is on the way. And it might be the repudiation that Disney needs for George Lucas stuff to do quite well and for them to find out, we've missed the mark. Ron, let me ask you about this because, people were excited. I was one of them when Disney took over. Not everybody was this way, but I was excited to find out that Disney was taking over Star Wars more than 10 years ago. Because I thought Disney would do with it what they were doing with Marvel. And of course, what we saw was not only did Star Wars come in and ruin Star Wars, but they damaged Marvel as well later on. Ron, I think the days of people wishing that George Lucas was uninvolved, that's gone away now. I think people, long for having him have some part in this franchise, whatever is left of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, it's really sad the passing of his ex-wife because she was such an important and imperative part to the first Star Wars movie that ever came out and created a balance. Without that, there was George. I do feel like the criticism that George needed somebody to keep him in check was an appropriate criticism, but then when Disney took over and basically Kathleen Kennedy took over, it was, it was a complete spiral of it, and it was odd for me. There were certain things about the sequel trilogy visually that I loved. When they did the planet where I think it was like white sand and like red underneath it, visually, I'm like, that's a cool planet, a cool idea. But there were just so many things that they got wrong with the lore, with Jedi powers, with all of that kind of thing. It'll be really nice to see something from George again, and I hope, it's my hope, almost hope beyond hope at this point in time. I hate to say, but it would be nice if there was something that could rekindle the franchise, a la the first season of Mandalorian, right? So we had, if you've got this new thing, the cartoon from George Lucas, people see that. You've got next year, the 50th anniversary, and Star Wars comes out. It rekindles the excitement about the original Star Wars, and then Disney can find somebody, probably not Dave Filoni, who can do something with this franchise to just, I don't know, breathe new life into it. It would be great. I would love to love new Star Wars again. I would love to be as excited for Star Wars as I was during the days when they had Star Wars weekends at Hollywood Studios. And it's honestly, it's kind of tragic to me as a fan to go to Galaxy's Edge and go, I'm in this place that sort of looks like Temu Star Wars, like kind of Star Wars, but it doesn't feel I don't feel the feelings, the joy, the euphoria that I felt on the days of Star Wars weekends when I was in the park. And I would love to have that again.
That would be cool. I remember those days.
Yeah, and Ron, I would say too, and Erika as well, they got to fix something about Star Wars because this part of the park that we're looking at right now, Hollywood Studios and Disneyland, rather empty. The last time we went over in that direction, walked up to Oga's Cantina and said, hey, you got any availability? And it's summer, it's hot. You think people would want to be in there, get a drink? We said, you got any availability? They said, oh, yes, please. Like desperation. And we said, Marvin was actually the one leading this. He said, okay, well, when should we come back? And they said, right now, come on in. And it was a walk-in in the middle of primetime vacay days at Disney World. So they got to get Star Wars fixed. Otherwise, they got a duck in the middle of some of their most important theme park real estate. Yuck. That's no fun, Disney. Maybe this George Lucas return can help. And who knows, maybe he'll do one final project where he collaborates or something. I don't know. He's over 80. The museum is going up and opening soon. But folks, there you go. If you're feeling a little gloomy, just know you got extra George Lucas on the way, not including Lucasfilm. Nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy. This is pre-Kathleen Kennedy stuff coming your way. Check it out. Let us know what you have to say when it comes to Star Wars.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.